around 77% of children quit organized sports.
That's the age, by the way, where people drop out most. There are risks with everything in life. AI presents us with a lot of opportunities, but it also presents us with risks. We have to manage those risks. Hard work is crucial. Hard work is fundamental.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Welcome back to another Champions Connect podcast, and today I'm going to ask you, again, a kind reminder to subscribe. It's a free button that you can press down below. It helps us push more entertainment, education, and obviously knowledge that you can implement into your life. Also, leave a like if you like the video, obviously. Comment who you want to see next, because that's super important. So, Glenn Micallef, European Commissioner of Youth, Fairness, Culture and Sports. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We met last May, and from there on, honestly, I felt a really deep connection because we have the same mindset when it comes to some things, and I think it's super important to share your mindset today. You know, can I ask you a question? In a sentence, can you tell me what your role is?
So I'm the European Commissioner for Sport, Culture, Youth and Intergenerational Fairness, and my role is to try and coordinate and push for policies which make sport more accessible to people. So my mission in one word and one line is to try and encourage, in the sports world obviously, more people to be physically active.
It's important because, as we both know, that Malta is one of the most...
It's an issue that we face all over Europe. So if you look at the statistics, if you look at the numbers, in the continent, so across the European Union, we have half of our population who is not meeting the general recommended standards of physical activity daily. So the World Health Organization, and I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Tedros, who is the Director General of WHO, recommends at least 1 hour of physical activity almost every 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days.
And we have half of our people in the European Union, 45%, who don't even walk for 45 minutes or 50 minutes every 2 or 3 days. So we have huge problems of inactivity, which lead to a large volume of people who have non-communicable diseases, issues with their weight, obesity, their well-being, both physical and mental, issues with different types of disease, which leads to premature death. So this is practically a life or death situation.
Exactly. What does sports mean to Europe at this point in time?
Well, there's this famous saying. Everyone uses it in the sporting world. They quote Nelson Mandela. He said in one of his speeches that sport can change the world. And now I think there's this recognition of how powerful a tool sport can be. So sport is, for many, entertainment. Sport is a way to show political power as well. But it's also a social tool, because practically in every family there's someone who is doing sports. So it can be used as a tool for education. It can be used as a tool to promote values. And I know values sounds like a bit of an abstract word. So when we say values, if you really want to promote inclusion, if you want to promote equality, if you want to promote human rights, I think sport can give us the perfect platform to be able to.
So it connects the world, in your opinion?
Yeah, it connects people and it creates memories, and I think those memories will last. And I speak from personal experience here. So most of the lessons that I've learned and the person I am today is partly through the experiences I got through sport. So I've learned so many important lessons on the football pitch, in my case, and lessons that will stay with you forever, basically.
We're speaking about the entertainment side of things, obviously, and I think it impacts. It's one of the biggest entertainment systems around the world. How is Europe taking action in this? Is it giving it much importance?
Well, I mean, we look at sports from different angles. Entertainment is one of them. My focus is obviously to use sport as a means to educate, as a means to create better societies. So I'll give you a concrete example. We try to invest in programs where you can work with younger people, even sometimes at primary levels in education systems, and where you can teach important lessons in life.
You're mentioning that you invest. Is your meaning of invest monetary?
Not just.
Okay.
So the monetary part is really important, and we have programs like Erasmus Plus, through which we can actually finance these projects, but also creating these connections between different countries, different sports clubs, coaches, athletes who come together and share expertise, share knowledge, create bonds, create connections as well.
Between the years 2005, 2007, there was a problem, there was a conflict, there was a civil war going on with Ivory Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if you remember this. And after a game, Drogba had taken action. So he was fed up of all this, and he made a statement asking both sides to stop fighting. And as you said, football engages with the world. So it took immediate action. Okay, there was immediate action on this. There was a temporary case fire because of his action, and there was also a peace talk going on. So he affected just a football player managed to
and
stop the war.
This is just one example. Look, I mean, if you look at there are similar examples. So if you look at 1995, for example, it was a time when South Africa was emerging from apartheid. There were huge issues in the country, and at the time, Nelson Mandela at the Rugby World Cup took a leadership role and said, look, this is how we're going to unite the country. He presented the trophy because South Africa won the Rugby World Cup at the time. He presented the trophy to a person. Remember, rugby was a white-dominated sport in South Africa at the time. It was the first time there was a mixed group of people who were playing the sport. Mandela was presenting the trophy to a white captain for the rugby team. And again, it shows the power of sport. Roll the clock over 5 years. The Olympic Games in Sydney. You had two countries which were at war in Sydney. And at the time, the athletes of these two countries walked with one flag and competed under a neutral flag. I'm referring to North and South Korea. So it shows how powerful sport can be in promoting peace and promoting human rights and promoting values.
They call it a myth usually, that sports can actually make this impact, but I don't think from what history takes us back.
Look, we just mentioned two examples. And these are just two. You mentioned the one in Ivory Coast with Didier Drogba. And we have in our continent similar examples taking place, maybe not having such a global platform. But if you look, for example, at the football camps I mentioned a little bit earlier, they started after the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1998. And they started by bringing together children, so people from a very young age, from different groups, and encouraging them to play sport together. And that practically wiped the visions from people who are the present but also the future of these countries. And they come together and work in a team. So it shows how powerful a tool sport can be.
In real estate, you can either follow the crowd or be coached by the best. Elite is the #1 platform for agents who want more. More deals, more growth, and more leadership. It's not just a real estate agency, it's a launchpad with real training, real support, and a community that pushes you to your peak. If you're serious about becoming an agent, join Elite now and become the agent others chase. Let's get back to the pod. Obviously, you're mentioning all this investment and all these things, and since you're not only looking at the Maltese country now,
Yeah.
you're also looking at the European side of things.
Yeah.
What's the difference, and where are we lacking as a country, do you think, with regards to the investment in younger generations?
Look, I think, first of all, we have to make a bit of a distinction between elite sport and grassroots sport.
Okay.
My focus is mostly on grassroots. My focus is on creating habits in the younger generation.
To then grow into something bigger.
Because when you encourage people to form habits when they're younger, it's usually the basis to take that habit and make it something you continue during your lifetime. So we're looking at programs in schools. For example, one which I've seen in Poland. After school hours, they use school infrastructure, they bring in coaches, and they encourage 1 hour of physical activity. And that has been, they've been monitoring the progress, and it shows that people are healthier, they are mentally even stronger.
Well structured, exactly.
And it creates a habit that then they...
A ripple effect.
Yeah,
in a way.
it creates a basis for a lifetime, basically. So if we can be successful in that, I think we would be creating something which is really strong and impactful.
So you're mentioning grassroots.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about the elite sport side of things?
Look, I think the elite and grassroots go hand in hand.
Mm.
You need to have grassroots to have elite, and you need elite to inspire grassroots. And that takes time, it takes patience, but it takes a lot of investment in infrastructure, because you need to be able to have...
Are we able?
You need to have spaces where people can practice sport, where people can, go for a walk, go for a run, practice, I don't know, their favorite sport. So you need the spaces.
Do we have the spaces?
Look, it's an issue all over Europe.
Okay, interesting.
So I've been to regions, for example, not capital cities, where you have generally very good infrastructure. So regions and rural areas. And there are similar issues where people don't have the proper infrastructure to practice their preferred sport. So it is an issue. And we try to encourage and make it easier for authorities to be able to invest in sport as well. Also using funding from the European Union. So this is an issue, but it's not the only issue, because then you need to have clubs in place, you need to have volunteers in place, and we know that the issue of volunteers are practically the backbone of our clubs in Europe.
Not only clubs, I think in sports in general.
In sports in general. So in Europe, the way sports is organized, we have something that is called the European sport model.
Okay.
And it might sound, a little bit of a big phrase, but what it essentially involves is some founding elements. So first of all, in Europe, we believe that sports federations, associations, they should be autonomous. They should be the ones that decide how their sport is governed, what the rules are, and how sports is organized. So that's the first pillar of the European sport model. The second is the importance of sporting merit. What does it mean? So it means you have divisions where on sporting merit you get promoted, you get relegated. We don't believe in closed leagues like other parts of the world, where you get invited to play in a league.
What leagues are you saying?
If you look at the United States,
MLS,
for example,
yes.
They're what we call closed leagues. So you get invited to play in a league, and you can have a franchise. So you have no divisions where you get promoted, you get relegated based on sporting merit.
And why is that, if I may ask?
It's a different model. It's a different way of how sport is organized. If you look at the NBA, it's similar. So in basketball, it's a different kind of system. The third element, and which takes me back to the importance of grassroots, is solidarity. So we have in Europe systems, in football, in basketball, in other disciplines as well, where you have a redistribution and an assistance from elite to the grassroots, where UEFA in football, for example, redistributes revenues and helps smaller clubs in grassroots, because we recognize that you need to have a strong foundation, and smaller local clubs are this foundation in grassroots to be able to have a strong elite sector. So this redistribution, this solidarity between elite and grassroots is one of the foundations of our model. Another foundation is the importance of volunteers. Most of our clubs in localities and in communities are run by volunteers. And this has been deeply impacted, especially by COVID, where we see a number of people who maybe got lost through the system, through the cracks after COVID, and it's leaving an impact on clubs. Huh?
I don't only think that it's a big impact for clubs with regards to monetization, it's also with regards to service, because you don't really find people who want to do some of these jobs.
Look, I grew up in a small club, in a community club, which was the club of the town or the village I used to live in, and we had really dedicated coaches. We had good coaches, but then you had volunteers who spent their time in these clubs, just helping out, preparing training sessions, helping with kids, helping with children, helping with
organization for events,
organization for transport. So this is what we mean when we say the backbone of our sporting systems are the volunteers. Now, unfortunately, after COVID, during COVID, people were spending much more time with their families. They spend their time differently, and it leaves clubs in a vulnerable situation because they've lost such a crucial part.
They lost the backbone, as you said earlier.
Such a crucial part of their organizational setup that it leaves such a deep impact.
On average, around 77% of children quit organized sports when they're in the young stage between 12 and 13.
That's the age, by the way, where people drop out most of sport for different reasons. Actually, the reasons differ a lot between boys and girls.
Okay.
So there are different reasons. Bodies would be developing, people, making new friends, different lifestyles. So, there are varying reasons.
What's the why?
I don't think you can put your finger down on
just one thing.
On just one thing. So pressures from the education system, pressures from parents, for example. So the reasons are various, and I think it's our job to try and inspire children to continue to be physically active, whether they do it. So some people decide they don't want to do it competitively anymore, and that's fine. They want to practice sport maybe for just to have fun, or to build connections and to build friendships. What's most important is that they continue to actually be active in some kind of sport.
We all want change, and we all want it fast. New body, new mindset, new habits. But real change, it's not a switch, it's a system. Reflex Gym gives you that system. The space, the structure, the support. Whether you're getting started or pushing for the next level, Reflex is where progress happens. Built on hard work, backed by community. Visit Reflex Gym on their website, reflex.com.nt. Let's get back to the pod. Exactly. And I had an episode, I think it was with Emma Hogg, and we mentioned how the son or the daughter inherits the parenting. So I think that when the parents are viewing the game, and they are either shouting, screaming, what are you doing, play the ball, I think it impacts the kids so much. So do you think this is a very, very important factor with regards to the 70%?
Kids and children, they copy traits. So parents are setting an example for their children. The fact that parents actually help their children and ask their children or go with their children to sport, that's already a very good sign.
Around a year ago, I came across a situation where I came into the world of content creation, and people think that if you're on camera, you're made for it. You're made for it. And we discussed earlier that when you came on camera, you froze sometimes in the beginning. I came across some situations also when it comes to cyberbullying,
Yeah.
which is super important for younger ones. When it comes to us, we can adapt, but it can also lead to an effect when you're younger, you know? So do you think we're falling short when it comes to protecting young children from this situation?
From cyberbullying, you mean?
Mhm.
Look, I think the online world, it should be a place where people can stay connected with one another, where they could grow. Now, we invest a lot of effort, a lot of time in protecting children in the physical world and in creating the right environment, the right rules. So you can't just walk outside and beat someone up, because you know that there
There are rules.
are rules, there are laws in place, and you cannot do that. And I think we need to create the same kind of
Effect.
system, the same kind of environment in the digital world. So first of all, you need to prevent cases of bullying, of harassment, and of cyberbullying online. How? By educating people from a very young age on how to use digital tools, how to use digital platforms. But that's not
It's not enough.
alone. That's not enough. So you need to create rules and regulations. You need to create the rules of the game, basically. And this is something that we have been doing at European Union level. So we created effectively legislation. It's called the Digital Services Act,
Okay.
where we have put into law the rules of the game for digital platforms, for the Metas of this world and the Googles and the very large online platforms, which means that they have to have, for example, age verification systems in place. They have to have filters in place to moderate content for especially younger audiences. They have to have parental controls, and they have to have the right tools to be able to
share their journey, you can say.
Yeah. And then you need to create systems where people can actually report content which they feel is abusive.
There is, but they don't. Sometimes the system doesn't take it too seriously.
There was this one particular case which really stayed with me. A young girl, she was a victim of a crime. She was threatened that if she spoke about it, photos and material would be posted online. So she took her own life.
Mm.
So you have these really powerful stories which, sometimes they leave you speechless. And I think it should be easier for people to report cases of bullying. There should be follow-ups to cases.
The follow-up, I think, is a...
Cases being reported. So if someone believes that if they report a case, nothing happens of it, they won't bother to report it.
You met the founder of Snapchat, if I'm not mistaken.
I met the founder of Snapchat as well as a number of other stakeholders. And in my discussion with Evan, the founder of Snapchat, we were speaking about how in law enforcement in the United States, for example, 98% of all the investments being done in law enforcement are going into the physical law enforcement, with just 2% of the resources going to the digital world. When we know that people are now shifting and using more digital tools in their daily lives.
Do you think this is a big problem coming to the digital world where everyone's focusing much more on AI situations? Because
look, AI can be a very useful tool in helping us to detect cases of bullying. So I think AI could be a tool that we use to our advantage.
There's a very, very big disadvantage as well when it comes to AI. We use AI a lot in this situation, in our world, and also in the content creation world. But it's not all rainbows, you can say.
It's not all rainbows, but that's why you need to really create effective rules around the use of digital tools. We were mentioning them a little bit earlier. So you can use AI for the wrong reasons, like you can do with practically anything in life.
For
So you
example,
can create deepfakes with AI.
you can create nudes, etc., which is very...
Exactly. Which is why, first of all, we have put rules in place which require everything produced with AI to be marked as being produced by AI and having the label as being generated by AI clearly visible. And
I never came across this, though.
it's in legislation, so in when you use these platforms, they should be marking content.
But you can crop out, no?
Well, you can find workarounds around everything in life.
Exactly.
I mean, if you had to make an analogy, you can use a car to take you to different places, but you could also use it in a wrong way. So if you overspeed and if you use it in a wrong way, that could have
consequences.
So it's an analogy, but
Everything has its own situation.
AI could be used to help us detect where you can when you create deep fakes and sexually explicit content online.
Scary, huh? Scary, you must say.
Look, I'd rather focus on the positives and try to use it in a way which aids human capability and try to regulate as much as possible the negative side.
But if we're just like this, okay, we're focusing just on the positive sides, and then we're not opening and seeing the negative sides, there's going to be a bigger problem.
But that's why you need to create proper systems in place to manage the risks as well. Look, AI has been here for ages.
And now we're getting the
So
news.
anyone who's been in the audiovisual sector, for example, knows that for decades it's been used in editing, in After Effects, in many of the suites that are used behind the scenes of a production, of an audiovisual production.
For example, I had a podcast, and I had a problem with the audio, and me, obviously, I'm very new to all the situations, and I have a friend. He just pressed a button, and it all came back to normal. And I was playing for like 2 hours, 3 hours. So
that's how you use AI as a tool.
Exactly. But then there's the side effects, as we're saying.
Exactly.
So it's basically in life,
But you need to. I think there are risks with everything in life. So everything comes with its own risk. This discussion is one that people had when computers were invented, and so it's not something new. With technological developments, you need to adjust the way that you manage the risks. Now, AI presents us with a lot of opportunities, but it also presents us with risks. We have to manage those risks. We have to put protections in place for the creation of deepfakes, for example. We have to put protections in place to manage the negative sides.
Speaking about AI now, since we're in the situation,
Yeah.
I saw a podcast. I forgot which podcast it was exactly, but he mentioned that it was actually really, really true. The only job in the world at the moment that is not at risk with regards to AI is plumbing. That's the only job that's not at risk at the moment. And I sat down to think, obviously, because it's impossible. You think it's impossible, there's athletes doing these things. But I also came across influencer athletes that they're all created by AI. I don't even realize, So
take sports, for example. You have now a very powerful tool to help coaches develop individualized plans for different athletes using AI. You have AI being used, and I've seen it in sports clubs, to analyze data.
Okay.
Analyze data from training sessions on the efforts of players, of athletes, to identify areas for improvement and come up with suggestions and recommendations. So the positive applications and the positive opportunities that this brings with it are immense. I've seen football clubs and sports clubs around Europe that are investing heavily because they see this as a game changer in the sports world.
Good one, huh?
I've seen sports clubs who use AI platforms and AI models to do scouting, to scout talent.
Scout players.
Scout talent from different regions. So they practically insert data into the model, and it tells them this player has potential, this player has talent, but is not working at a sufficient rate to be able to realize that potential. So,
Wow.
of course, you need to have the human to complement what is generated by the model, but the possibilities are immense.
Statistics, height, goals.
Yeah.
Wow. That's super, huh?
Some of these applications are really game-changing. Something which I forgot to mention, Luca, is the responsibility that people in sports, athletes have in setting an example. You remember when we met on the 9th of May at St. Patrick's?
Yeah.
I was speaking to this group of children.
The grill this one.
Yeah, they were, during a training session, we were speaking, and they were looking at me like, who is this guy? Why is he talking to us? Yeah. And then you came along, and you could see their faces changed. They were looking up to you. They were saying, Luca, we know Luca. He's the goaler. He's someone we want to be like when we grow up. So you are actually setting an example for these people. And you can actually help us educate younger pupils, children, on cyberbullying, but also on other issues.
And I honestly think that that's why this podcast was created in the first place. Is to always share the knowledge, And I'm not gonna elaborate much on this, but I don't think that I'm excellent in everything. So that's why I get different guests to talk about their different experiences. That's super important.
No, I think we can all learn from each other.
Exactly.
You never know enough in this world.
It's so nice to meet different people, who can explain different theories, lessons.
So I think we can use actually academies, we can use athletes to help us really educate people and create cultures where cultures of tolerance, of respect, and of accepting one another.
We're speaking about when I came to the situation. Not football, sports. Let's say sports creates role models.
Yeah,
we can say creates role models. How can the role models take advantage of the situation? Can they turn it into a business model? Can they create different types of contacts from it? What do you suggest?
To make an impact. And then the business side would come after. I think the primary goal should be to create an impact, to leave a mark.
To leave a mark in the beginning.
So
the idea was around the question that could you use sports to create something bigger?
Most definitely. So sports is about, I think sport is about creating memories. It's about
learning new things, connecting.
When I think about sport, it brings memories of my childhood, of how I used to wait for my dad to take me to training 2 or 3 times a week, of how I could go onto the pitch with my teammates. It doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter where they're from, what their background is. You put on the same shirt and you fight like hell for one another. You're on the same team, so you're giving 200%, and you don't want to let your teammate down. And if someone does something to your teammate, then it's personal. And that's what sport is to me. It doesn't matter if a person is coming from a different social background,
culture,
how rich he is, how poor he is. You're on the same team, so you're family, basically. And that's what we should try to mirror in society as well. I think we're stronger if we work together, and sport can teach us a very powerful lesson in this respect. No, before people get the wrong impression, I really wasn't a good football player.
Right.
So I used to love training, and I used to love going to meet my friends, to meet the coaches. At the time, Keith Demicoli was my coach for a long period of time, and we had such a good time.
Adding to this situation right here, I think when we speak about role models, as I said earlier,
Yeah.
it's about reputation too. So, being Luca Camilleri, you have to focus on reputation. And that's the most important factor in first building your name and then keeping it, because it's super important. What do you think? Can you give us a few steps on how this could be possible?
Look, reputation comes from your work ethic, how hard you train. So people see Luca Camilleri, people see me, and they see 10% of what we do. They don't see the 90% that goes into it, the training, the sacrifice and the effort you put
For sure.
in it. So you really have to never give up. You can't be disheartened because you read a negative comment or because people criticize you. You have to take that in and use it to your advantage. It has to motivate you to be an even better version of yourself. And it's applicable to sport, it's applicable to your professional life, to whatever you do in life. You really need to struggle, you need to work hard to improve. You can never sit down and say, okay, I've reached
The limit.
I've reached my peak. No, you have to try and improve every single time.
I'm mentioning reputation. I think one of the main factors for reputation is visibility. The more you show yourself, the more you're gonna grow in life. That's what I learned, honestly.
Yeah.
When people see you more and when people hear your voice even more, they interact with you. It's super important. Do you think we are lacking as, let's say, Europe side of things?
Yeah.
Are athletes or anyone in general lacking to show their face on social media to grow? Is there the push that we're lacking?
Rather than the push, because the conditions are there. So the possibilities for people to be visible are there. And now with digital tools,
AI.
it's much easier to make yourself visible. What I see is that people are sometimes afraid of the criticism, of the negative comments, and that's something which we need to work on. At the same time, I think people need to be authentic. So they need to tell their stories and really be unafraid of the people who criticize them.
I understand. What goes to their head, because we were both in the situation. You know, we were never born to be in front of a camera, obviously.
Yeah.
I think.
But take away the camera when you're on the pitch, when you're playing. You know, you will have people, even some of the fans who are supporting your team, who will criticize you and who will yell at you and who will tell you that you're not good enough to play for the team. But you still have to push through it. You still have to.
You have to go perform in front of hundreds of people.
You have to
all the time, every week.
Break through that.
Every week. So it's super important to build visibility and to build the knowledge to provide visibility as well.
You need to have the confidence to be able to do that.
How did you build your confidence when it comes to this situation? Repetition?
My hearing, I think, was the toughest challenge that I have ever faced. When I was nominated for the role, I wasn't as public-facing as my colleagues in the college. I had experience in management. I had experience in government for a number of years. But I had never been in a situation where you have a room full of people.
When you say room full of people, how many?
Around 40 members of the European Parliament with all their assistants. So a room with 300 people. And you're on the spot. And they're asking you questions for 3 hours straight.
Oh, no.
So they put you on a platform. You have people behind you. So the chair of the committee is behind you. And that's, by the way, I think one of the the most challenging part is that you have people speaking from behind you. You can't look at them because you can't give your back to the audience. And you have to think about what they're saying, answer them without even looking at them.
And why is that? Why behind it?
It's the way the room is set up.
Oh.
So you have people who are behind you, and then you have 300 people in front of you asking you questions for 3 hours straight without a break. The way that you prepare for this has to be really thorough. And for me, it was a new experience. Actually, a handful of people had been, myself included now, a handful of Maltese people had done it, not more than that.
Okay.
So the way you prepare to face it has to be really thorough.
So do you think this is a very big mistake that young athletes are not taking into consideration, that when you put in the reps, you manage? Do you think that they should put in the reps?
My advice would be to focus on preparation, plan your performance, plan even your mindset. You can't go into something, whether it's a sport or whether it's a professional life, thinking you're going to fail. You have to vision yourself, being really successful. And I was mentioning my experience. When you overthink, sometimes you lose that confidence, you lose that edge. So you really need to be prepared for
anything that's coming your
plan
way.
And then execute and keep calm under every circumstance.
We're speaking just about the content creation side of things and how you put yourself out to the world. But we also have to see the mindset of the athlete itself. From the age of 13 to 17, what do you think the biggest mistake that athletes are doing right now are?
I would say the fear of failure, or the fear of making a mistake. So my 2 cents is, don't be afraid of making a mistake. Don't be afraid of failing. Just learn from it and move on every single time. The most important thing is that you learn from your mistakes. Everyone will make mistakes. I mean, the biggest athletes make mistakes. It's all about mindset. So, who's the biggest athlete in football? We both love football.
Go for it.
Who is it at the moment? Cristiano Ronaldo?
Let's say that, okay.
Let's say he's one of the greatest footballers of our time. He made mistakes. But his mindset,
Keep going, yeah, exactly.
Work hard, be a better version of yourself.
I honestly think that the biggest mistake that they're doing at this point in time is that everyone wants to become successful quick.
Yeah, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of patience.
So everyone's saying...
And mindset. Mindset is crucial. So I was telling you how I was preparing for my hearing, which was the biggest challenge that I've ever faced by far. What distinguishes someone who is good to someone who is great is attention to detail, but also how you face something from a mindset point of view.
I come across a lot of dopamine hits when it comes to TikTok and all social media platforms. We see many young people post their early success, and obviously not everyone, is able to do these things. And I don't think, honestly, half of them are real. As when we're seeing TikTok and we're just lying in bed and just wasting our time, scrolling, we see successful people and we say, why can't I do it? For example, Lamine Yamal, for example, he's making it at a very young age. I can assure that 17-year-olds are crying and saying, why I didn't do it myself? Where this guy is just one in the world. You have to see the whole side of things. The other players who are making it, Jamie Vardy, for example.
These stories, they create inspiration. So they can actually motivate people to be even better at what they do. But then not everyone will be playing at that high level. So we need to manage expectations a little bit as well.
That's the right word. Exactly. Manage expectations.
Yeah.
That's the right word. There's a difference when it comes to obsession, okay? When I see. There's the difference between detail obsession and also healthy obsession. They are very big important factors. Which is the better side of things, and how could it make you different?
Look, I think attention to detail it's quite crucial. You need to be able to, if you want to perform at the highest of levels, that's what sets you apart. You know, it's not just about what you do on the pitch. It's about what you eat, how much you train, how much you sleep, how much you drink. So it's these details that will make a difference.
Sometimes obsession can be discouraging and also not healthy. So we have to see the side of things regarding the healthy wise as well.
Obviously, if you take it to extremes, it's going to have a negative impact. But if you do it to actually elevate your performance in whatever you do in life, in sport, but also in professional life, it can actually make you go from good to being great, to go one level above.
Have you ever experienced a situation where your obsession to success impacted in a negative way?
You have to be, if you really want to be great, you have to pay attention to the details. In my case, it's how I present an argument, it's how I prepare for an exchange with members of the European Parliament, it's how I engage with stakeholders, who I meet, when I meet them. So it puts pressure on you. You need to be able to manage that pressure. And everyone has their own way of dealing with that pressure.
You showed me, I think when you were there, that you met some of the really good players in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Does that take planning as well? Or is it just, let's go, have fun?
In those kinds of situations when you are at sporting events, you know, these people are role models, so they get invited as ambassadors, and you get to have an exchange with them. So, you know, I met Gianluigi Buffon and Giorgio Chiellini at a charity event. They were supporting an Italian athlete, a Paralympic athlete.
Okay.
With raising money to help even more athletes overcome trauma and accidents and compete in Paralympic events. I met people like Clarence Seedorf, like Luis Figo, Roberto Carlos at UEFA events. And then you can have conversations with these people and see the human side of it. You can see how much work they put into, you know, being the very best.
Sometimes I have no doubt that you come into situations where the conversation is not only about business. You have to speak about many different things. And with your work, you get to meet many different people, many different conversations. And sometimes you need to have that human conversation, you know.
You learn about people. Ultimately, we're all people. We have different experiences, different backgrounds. And we have a human side as well. So when you're speaking to someone who's known internationally, and when you're speaking to them like we're doing now, you know, that then you understand he's a person as well. He has his difficulties, his hard moments. You know, this weekend I was speaking to a Ballon d'Or winner. She was 29 and she had to quit what she had done her whole life.
Why is that?
Because of injuries. She had 6 surgeries in one knee.
6?
6 surgeries in one knee.
Wow.
Nadine Kessler. She's German, a Ballon d'Or winner. And she had to start again from scratch. She had to go into something completely different.
Which is?
Football, but the technical side of it, not playing. At 28 or 29 years of age. She's someone, her story is so powerful, but she sets an example to people, you know. Sometimes life is hard. You have to adapt and you have to find your own way of dealing with a tough situation when it gets thrown at you.
Can you give us one story that impacted you in a way that changed your mindset with regards to...
In sport, you mean?
Yeah.
One story.
Let's make it generalized. Let me give you some freedom on this.
So many, yeah. I think one of the most powerful I've heard was from Bebe. So I was asked to go there to represent the commission in Italy. I had an idea who Bebe was. I didn't know much about her story. So she was an athlete in fencing, you know, performing at a very high level. Then she lost both her hands and her knees.
How is that?
I can't remember if it was an accident or if it was through an illness. And obviously she was devastated. She did sport her whole life, but she came back as a Paralympic athlete. She had prosthetics, and she won a gold medal at the Paralympics. You know how much effort that takes, not just physically, because on the body it takes a huge toll, but also mentally to come back from something like that.
I think sometimes we're just not grateful for what we have as well. Big
Yeah.
impact.
You need to appreciate. You know, if we're healthy, that's a real blessing.
It makes me think sometimes, these situations.
But
I think.
this Bebe, I'm telling you, she's so impressive. So she won a Paralympic gold medal in fencing, and then she created this whole charity where she's now actually inspiring so many others to be involved in sport, to use sport as a recovery, to use sport actually come out stronger of tough situations. So she's now helping others through sport.
Hearing these stories on what happens to these type of people and how they regenerate their life, we have to set boundaries on how we list our successes. You know, sometimes we achieve small milestones and just keep going in life. How do you visual your successes?
No, you celebrate a success, but then you move on to the next challenge.
It depends on success, though.
To me, success is about helping people be a better version of themselves, making a positive difference in someone's life. So if I manage, for example, to facilitate the creation of programs where through sport we can actually help people be better versions of themselves, be healthier.
So do you think, and I have to be honest with this, are you hopeful or concerned of where Europe is heading?
Now there's a realization that we are stronger if we work together as a block of countries, not just individually. And young people recognize that there's a lot of opportunity if we invest as a European Union. So I'll give you a concrete example.
Yeah.
Erasmus, I think, is the most known program, the most known funding program in the European Union. Why? Because it gives young people the opportunity to explore or to study in other parts of the continent, to make friendships, to build connections, learn or develop themselves.
Let's go into the quickfire questions.
Quickfire questions.
Best part, in my opinion. I love these. They're super fun. So we have 9 questions this time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to choose between some of them. Let's see
Okay.
which one is best. Okay. So, first one. A leadership skill that changed you.
Planning, don't cut corners. I think that's the most important thing. And then you're only as strong as the team around you. So you need to be able to trust your team and be surrounded by people who can actually
Push you further.
push you further and make you even better.
A quote that shifted your perspective.
Fall 7 times, stand up 8.
All right. Good one. We hear it a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't think we come into thought what it actually means sometimes.
You need to be resilient. You need to learn from your mistakes and move forward.
What should every 15 to 17-year-old hear?
Hard work is crucial. Hard work is fundamental. So in whatever you do, talent is not enough. We need to work hard at it.
Always push every day.
Yeah.
Okay. A non-negotiable value you work by.
Don't cut corners.
Don't cut You mentioned it a lot, and I think it's one of your main.
Attention to detail.
One truth about sports people avoid.
Takes a lot of pain, a lot of sacrifice, especially if you're at an elite level, and you need to have a lot of motivation to succeed, a lot of dedication. Takes a lot of
I
hard
think it's
work.
more about dedication rather than motivation, because motivation fades away.
It's about discipline. You really need to be disciplined and work hard at it.
Last question. If everything disappeared tomorrow, what would you keep fighting for?
If everything disappeared tomorrow, I think family is really important in life.
You're very far away from your family, obviously. How do you handle it?
Actually, my family is with me.
Okay.
My immediate family is with me in Belgium, but most of the time I'm on the road, I'm in missions, I'm in meetings in different parts of the world. So we get to communicate through...
How do you handle it?
It's tough. It's not easy.
Has it become a norm to you?
You can't say that it will ever become a norm. Being away from your loved ones. In my case, away from my parents, most of the time, from my wife, my sibling. But then you learn to appreciate the moments the time you spend with them, you learn to appreciate it even more.
Fair enough.
So I brought something with me for you. So
okay. I love this part of the podcast.
Over the weekend, I was in Basel, watching the European Championship finals, Women Championship finals.
No.
By the way, it was one of the best games of football I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Atmosphere-wise, or?
I think it was a groundbreaking, a record-breaking attendance.
For the women, right?
For women. But the level of football was incredibly good. It was fantastic. And this is from UEFA President Alexander Seferin. It's the official ball used for the European Championships. And this is for you.
Wow, man, I was speechless. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's so nice, huh? I must be honest.
And keep on inspiring people.
So it's from him?
It's from Seferin. Actually, I think there's a photo of me with him with the ball.
I really appreciate it. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, huh? Thank you. Can I shake your hand? Thank you. So, last question of the podcast.
Yeah.
Our latest guest left you a question. He didn't know you were coming.
Okay.
It's mysterious. And he left a question for the next guest, which was Fabio Spiteri. You know Fabio?
Ooh.
You know
Of course
Fabio?
I know Fabio.
Machine.
He's incredible. Huh?
Machine.
And the fact that he does it for a good cause.
He gathered over
to
300.
raise money for animal shelters.
He gathered over his career over 350k. Which is
I mean, for animal shelters, it's a lifeline.
okay. So Fabio asked you this: where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Ooh, leaving a mark, a positive contribution in the fields of sport culture and youth, making a success of this opportunity that I've been given.
And regards to role, what's your dream role?
I'm too busy focusing on my work at the moment to be thinking about that. So I'm focusing on the task at hand.
You're focusing on
Yeah.
step by step.
Yes.
Okay, Glenn, it was super having you here. We just have to remind the guests, the people who are watching, to subscribe. Super important. So kindly ask them to subscribe.
Please subscribe because he's making some really good content.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And obviously, guys, I'm not asking for any monetization here. I'm asking for a simple press of the button. It can help me get new guests for you guys to see, to view, and to learn from, like Glenn.
And to
So-
share inspiring stories.
That's it. That's it. So, lovely discussing with you life, knowledge, different situations. I'll shake your hand one more time because honestly, it's been a long time coming. So, thank you so much.
So next time in Brussels,
Next time in Brussels, hopefully, yes, I'll come visit you.
I'll see you there. I'll see you at my office.
One more thing you would like to say to the audience?
Keep on pursuing your dreams and keep on dreaming.
Super. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching once again. Kindly comment who you want to see next, as I said. If you like the video, kindly like. And as I say usually, Champions Connect out.
Champions Connect out.
Well done. Good job. Excellent job.